hey there YouTube, Nicholas from Game Dev Maniacs here. Welcome to this 7th episode of the beginner series where we learn how to make a simple 2D action game from scratch called Showdown. We've been spending roughly 3 hours together now putting together this game piece by piece. And it's coming up pretty well, it's pretty much complete. It just requires a little bit of polish before we can call it done. So in this episode we are going to be doing two things. First, we'll be adding some sound effects and light music. The sound effect and music editor in Pico 8 are actually quite complex, and we could be spending hours just drilling into them. So we're going to be keeping this very simple for this game and just have a simple intro music for the title screen and a small sound effect for the gunshot. And second, you might have seen that you can easily win the game by smashing the keyboard. So we will be preventing the player from shooting before the signal is actually given. Otherwise, smashing the keyboard will just take away from any challenge. Let's go ahead and get started with the music. Okay, so back in Pico 8, we are going to venture into this new fourth tab here. This is the sound effect editor. And to be honest, it's actually a very complex tool that we could be spending hours just talking about. So for the sake of this game, we are going to be keeping it very simple. We're just going to be doing two sound effects. The first one is going to be used for the a very short melody that we'll be using in the title screen, and the second sound effect will be used for the gunshot sound. So let me walk you through this screen fairly quickly. So at the top left here, you can choose which sound effect you're currently editing. You have up to 64 sound effects. This is the speed at which the sound effect will be played, and these are various instruments that you can use. By left-clicking inside your main editor view, you can add notes to your sound effect. You have up to 32 notes. You will be pressing the space key in order to play back the sound effect. And you can choose various instruments and click again to change the sound effects that you have. You can shift click to set a specific instrument to all of the various notes. And at the bottom here, you have the volume for each of the notes. So you could potentially tweak things however you want. If you press the tab key, you are going to be switching from the pitch mode to the track mode. And the 32 notes that you were seeing in the pitch mode are now visible here in the track mode. You can see here the pitch for each note. The second column here corresponds to the octave at which the note is being played. This third note is the instrument. This fourth column here is the volume, and this fifth column here is the sound effect. You can add effect to each of those notes, picking one of those 8 effects here. We're not going to be playing with this much today. And what we're going to be doing is decreasing the speed so that it's actually more convenient to play some sort of melody here. So when you are in the track mode, you can actually press the keys on your keyboard to input notes directly into the track mode. And this is extremely handy if you are familiar with the melody that you want to play. The lower octave is being used by using the keys Z through M on your keyboard, while the flats and sharps are done with the S through J key. And then similarly, if you want to play the octave above that, you would use the Q through U keys and then the numbers 2 through 7. So that's extremely handy, and I'm going to be using these to enter the music inside the tracker. And then this is a half note, and then we have a F followed by a G followed by a D. All right, let's press space. All right, and I'm actually not a huge fan of this instrument. Let's go ahead and take the organ. I'm going to shift click to set all of them. And I'm going to also reduce the volume to 3 and shift click on all of them. It's a little bit better. Actually, it's not loud enough. I'm just going to go back to 4. Okay, let's press tab to go back into the pitch mode. And this time I'm just going to play around with the volume a little bit. Just going to get those 2 high pitch notes a little bit louder, and then maybe just go back down in volume just a little bit towards the end. Let's see how this goes. Okay, that should do for this first sound effect. So let's go ahead and add that into the code. Let's go back into our code editor here, and we are going to be playing this music at the very beginning of the game. And so that you can do directly inside the init function here. When we edit all the variables, we can simply play our song by using the sfx command. And here we'll just need to specify in the argument the number or index of the sound effects that we want to play. In our case, it is sound effect 0. So I'm just going to go back here and enter 0. So press Control S or Command S and Control R to play the game. Okay, you can see that we are, by the way, starting in the game screen, which is not ideal. We want to be in the intro screen, and this is the starting scene. We want to reset this to title. Let's go ahead and try this again. There we go. Looks much better, and now we can go ahead and play. So the second sound effect that we are going to be doing is the gunshot effect. Let's go ahead and press escape twice, go into the sound effect, and we're going to select the second sound effect here in the list. We actually want to use the noise instrument here, and we want to have something that kind of dies off somehow. So maybe we can do something like this. It's not bad, actually. I'm just going to do it a little bit lower and maybe a little bit with the volume that decreases over time. Let's see. Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, that will do. That's not the best sound effect, but you know, you can spend more time refining it if you want. So let's go ahead and insert that into our code. So this is sound effect number 1. We now know how to play a sound effect. We just need to find out where we need to play it. And we basically will be playing this sound effect whenever either the player or the CPU is shooting. And there are two instances here. This is where the player has shot, and we are going to play our sound effect. And the other place is when the CPU shot the player, which means that the player was shot. So let's go ahead and play the sound effect here. Let's go ahead and press Control S to save and run the game. And let's check that we can actually hear the sound when we shoot the CPU. All right, well, this is looking even better. So I guess the last thing that we need to do to call this game done is to kind of prevent the button mashing that we can currently do, just to make sure that people actually can see a little bit of a challenge in this game. Maybe one thing that we could do is simply check if the player is trying to shoot roughly 1 second before the shot timer is enabled. So basically we'll allow the player to mash the keyboard as often as he wants until roughly 1 second before the shoot indicator occurs. Let's go ahead and have an additional condition on the timer. So if we haven't yet reached the moment where we say shoot, and we are about 1 second away from the timer. So the timer hasn't yet reached shot timer. It's between 1 second and the ready, and we are hitting the button. Okay, and so here we will be just ending the game, preventing the player from continuing. He'll have to restart. We could of course just make it a little bit easier on the player, but this will make it easy for us to code right now. So let's go ahead and transition the player to another scene that we will call shame. Shame because the player has been shooting way too early. And we will go back into our draw tool here and have another condition for the shame scene. And here we will simply print somewhere in the middle of the screen. Print. You have shot too early and have left in shame. Let's try this again and have another row, and let's go ahead. Okay, try again. All right, let's try this. So now what happens if I smash the X button? There we go. Measure too early and have left in shame. Try again. Looks like I still got shot, so maybe we can fix this. Let's actually change the horizontal position of this. Let's remove it by 20. Okay, and why are we getting shot? We are inside the shame. Okay, if scene equals title, and here I'll see if scene equals game. This is the only time when we want to increase the timer. Otherwise, we should be good to go. Let's try it again. Oh, small error, scene equals game. Oh, right here. There you go. Okay. Let's go ahead and try to shoot ahead of time. There you go. You have shot too early and have left in shame. Try again. All right, let's see if we can actually beat this game the real way now. It's gonna need a little bit of focus. Level 1 should be pretty easy. There we go, tiny Mikey. Well, we can shoot multiple times. I guess it's okay. We'll leave that in. And all right, little Joe, Big Earl. My reflexes are not good enough for huge Sam. Let's see. Oh, so close. I don't even know if that's doable. Gosh, it's so frustrating. I almost want to increase the time for that huge Sam, but gotta make it a challenge. Let's try it one more time. Alright, this guy, Tiny Mikey, just wants to get shot multiple times. I have to say, the sound effect makes it a little bit more violent than I wanted. Okay, this is it. This is the final level, guys. Oh my gosh. All right, this is impossible. Just don't have the reflex to do this. If you guys are able to, if you guys are not able to beat your own game, most likely it's an indication that your game is too hard. And you typically want to make it fairly easy for the player to win your game, at least make it possible for them to do it. So I'm going to lower the difficulty of that last opponent here. Right now we have 200 milliseconds, and I'm just going to increase this to maybe 300 milliseconds. So it's going to still be harder than whatever that younger brother was, but still it should be much easier now. Let's try it again. All right, here we go. All right, Tiny Mikey, goodbye. Little Joe. Midwheel. Big Girl and... Ooh! Fastest shot in the West. All right, this is it. We could definitely add some music to, this final stage, or add more music left and right. Again, it's all up to you now. It's the scene is yours and the code is yours. Feel free to play around with it, make some changes, make it fun. In the next video, we will be finishing up this series by showing you how to publish the game so that it can be available for everyone else to see on itch.io. You can then share it with your friends, have your friends play it, criticize it, applaud you for it, and so forth. So I will see you in the next one.